You thought he was done? You thought the takes were too hot to handle? You better think again. He's back with even more scorching opinions, more controversial predictions, and the kind of truth bombs that only Zain Bando can deliver. If you missed the first round, prepare yourself. This is the follow-up you've been waiting for. It's time for Zan Zinger Part 2, another certified hit from the Empty the Bench Network. Here's your host, Zain Bando.
What is up, everyone? We are live. This is Zain Zinger Part 2 for Sunday, April 12th, 2026. Hope you are doing well. My name is Zain Bando, the host of this continuation, if you will, of the weekly show that is Bando's Breakdowns. We just had episode 85 aired live yesterday on several different platforms. We are back on a regular schedule with Zain Zinger Part 2. As per usual, we were off last week because of the Final Four, so we were unable to do it. I was driving back from Indianapolis, so there was no logistical way I would have been able to do this. But we are back. We are here. We are live, and excited to talk to you guys for the next 30 to 45 minutes or so on this very stream. Let's get a few particulars out of the way. Any additional episodes that you want to listen to or to listen back to, you can listen to Bando's Breakdowns where we get your podcasts. Again, that's an extension of this very stream, Zain Zinger Part 2. Those air every Friday with the audio-only version dropping every single Friday night at midnight Eastern, except for this past week because we were live everywhere at 3 p.m. Eastern on Friday this past week. So no episode 85 archived, but if you want that episode, go to the live stream section of this YouTube channel, ETV Network, or my YouTube channel, that would be Zain Bando 99. You can listen to that episode there or watch it. You can follow the show across social media at Bando's Breakdown. More clips to be released in the coming days. We have a new one coming out as well later on today about the Mike Vrabel, Diana Rossini situation, which we won't be getting into on this stream, but you'll get a few of my thoughts on that as well. Moving forward. So stay tuned for that. Actually, I'm getting my shows confused. That's for ETP Sports, but nonetheless, you will get thoughts on the Rossini-Vrabel situation one way or another on social media. But with that being said, though, let's get into the stream now when we can. And again, thank you so much for tuning in and helping us grow towards that 4,000 watch hour goal. All right, let's get into it. So, of course, as I like to do before we start every stream, you can listen to this show right now across several different platforms, YouTube and X, the ETB Network YouTube channel, the Bando's Breakdowns Twitter account, the Forever Power 5 Twitter account, the MMA Outsiders Twitter account, the ETB Network Twitter account, the ETB Sports Twitter account, my Twitter account, and, of course, my YouTube channel as well. So just figured I'd mention that. And if you were checking this out after the fact, thank you guys for tuning into the replay because everything helps. And of course, if you're watching right now, be sure to smash the retweet button, smash the like button, thumbs up the video on YouTube, send it to your friends, tell them I'm live right now, and I'll be live for the next little bit talking all of the latest in the world in sports, what I deem important. We have a little bit of UFC today, Masters, NBA, Major League Baseball, college football, and Angel Reese, because we didn't get to Angel Reese on the show. And I just realized it when I woke up this morning that I never spoke about it. And it was in the thumbnail of the episode for this past Friday, and I never spoke about it. So you will get my raw, unfiltered reaction to Angel Reese in real time with no filler. So there you go. All right, let's start here with UFC. UFC 327 was last night at the Kaseya Center in Miami. It was a phenomenal card, as the Miami cards usually are. I did horrible on predictions after going 10-3 this past week. We stumbled to a 4-7-1 clip on this card, but there were a lot of exciting fights on this card. The one draw was the Chris Padilla rather versus Markel Medeiros. That fight was a draw. But outside of that, some pretty entertaining fights. Let's go over to the card when we can. Let's talk about the card for a few minutes here. And let's start with the main event, obviously, because that's what everybody's talking about. I was a stinker on the main card. We went 2-3 on the main card. This was a terrible main card. I did earn a new belt on Tapology, though, so that's always good. So Carlos Ulberg wins the UFC vacant light heavyweight championship over Jiri Prochazka in emphatic fashion in the first round. Is believed to have torn his ACL at the time that we are talking about this. I don't think it's been officially confirmed yet, but he tears his ACL off of a horrible leg kick from Prochazka, a nasty one that could have ended any other fight. Prochazka should be bitter because in any other instance, he'd be the champion right now, but it is what it is. The referee does not intervene, and then all of a sudden, minutes later, Carlos Ulberg catches Prochazka with a left hook from hell and knocks out the former UFC light heavyweight champion to win the title, extend his win streak to 10 in a row, and show that he is one of the most dangerous fighters in the UFC to date at the moment. The sad part about this is, though, and there's been a lot of rumblings about this online, because of how long a potential ACL tear takes to heal, there's a chance that the UFC may have to go in a different direction. It may have to book an interim title fight. So there's a huge debate as to who should get that interim title fight. Is it Magomed Ankalaev? As we know, he just lost to Alex Pereira. Okay, so obviously, that series is 1-1. It'll be 1-1 for the foreseeable future because Pereira moved up to heavyweight to try to win the heavyweight title. So there's that. That's number one. So we know a trilogy is not happening for quite some time. So that's number one for sure. Number two is the fact that now you're in this dilemma, and I guess that is a brief segue. We'll get into this a little bit more in just a few minutes, but that's a brief segue into the co-main event. Paulo Costa knocking off Asmat Murzakanov in the third round in emphatic fashion himself, rallies to win that fight. Does Paulo Costa get the next shot at light heavyweight after beating an undefeated guy? That's a very interesting point in itself too, right? So there's that as well. But my whole thought process is, I think Ulberg just won the title. I don't think you make any rash decisions. I think you give him as much time as possible. Let him heal up. And if he's out for a year, shoot, that's a perfect segue into making the beginning of 2027 Ulberg's first title defense. And I think it's great. I think you can build a new star off Ulberg. I really do. I understand he's injured, but a lot of people like him. A lot of people were talking about his fight. Social media was going crazy last night during that fight because they could not believe that Ulberg won on one leg. So there's that as well. So I don't see a real issue with giving Ulberg some time to heal. I mean, obviously, you got to have the champion be the champion for a year, just about, before stripping him due to inactivity. But this is something that's really out of his control. He got a bad leg kick, and he still won the fight. The UFC is going to have some decisions to make, but I think Ankalaev, if they were to go the interim route, I think you do the former champion. And to be honest with you, I don't think Paulo Costa deserves a light heavyweight title shot. I really don't. I think Asmat had not been tested yet. He was undefeated. He had beaten some decent competition on his way up, but it was nothing that would make you say, oh my God, he's a he's a legitimate contender, at least not in my opinion. And maybe that's my arrogance, and maybe that's me not paying as close attention to Azmat as I should. But in the same breath, let's talk about it from a Paramount angle. Do they really want to sell a guy that barely anybody's ever heard of, right, for a UFC interim title shot? Or do they want to sell names? And Prochazka certainly is a name. Yeah, he's now 1-3 in title fights, with his only win being against Glover Teixeira. His 3 losses, obviously, are to Pereira twice, and of course, this fight last night. So obviously, he has that. He has that looming, but still, to only lose to 2 guys in 10 years, in Carlos Ulberg and Alex Pereira, there's really no shame in that whatsoever. And even in his statement that he put out on Instagram about an hour ago, he said that he wishes that he could have had that one back because he was doing really well until he was knocked out, and he feels like he just gave Ulberg an opening, and Ulberg was able to win the fight. So it is what it is, but I do think with this injury, Yuri's going to get a break, and I think Yuri's going to get another crack at potentially winning an interim title fight. So we shall see what happens there. Let's take a look at the rest of the card now before we move into some other particulars outside of the card itself, because there were some major announcements. So Paulo Costa moved to 16-4 with that TKO win by head kick against Azmat Mirzakhanov, obviously. That was a huge win for him. And then we got to talk about this fight. Josh Hokett versus Curtis Blades, one of the best fights in recent heavyweight history as well. Some huge, huge things to come out of this fight. Josh Hokett remains 9-0. He's now 3-0 in the UFC. This fight got a performance bonus as well. The first round, if you guys haven't seen it, round of the year, potential round of the decade type stuff. It was unfreaking believable. These 2 guys were rock'em sock'em robots, just swinging away as unbelievable as the fight was. Just freaking awesome. And one of those fights that I think people are going to be watching back for years to come. Let's take a look at some numbers from this fight, because there were a couple numbers that were worth mentioning. So let's do that here. According to ESPN Insights, Josh Hokett, 177 significant strikes, and Curtis Blades is 174, combined to land 351 significant strikes, the most in the modern era of the UFC's heavyweight history, which probably goes back to the Zuffa era when Zuffa first started. So I'm sure it's 2001 on, if I had to guess. But huge win for Josh Hokett. And in fact, speaking of Josh Hokett, and we will get back to the UFC 327 recap in just a second, he gets his wish. He gets a fight on the White House card, and per the president's ask to have Derek Lewis on the card, Josh Hokett gets a quick turnaround to fight the Black Beast. It was announced by Dana White on his Instagram Live, and in fact, courtesy of Championship Rounds, we will show the video right now. Give me just 1 second. This is from last
Hey guys, just why is Derek Lewis not on the White House card? And I said, hold on a second, Mr. President. I stepped away and I called Derek Lewis. I said, Derek, the president just asked me why you're not on the card. Do you want to fight on the White House card? And he goes, of course I do. Tell the president, thank you, I want to do it. Then the Hokett card plays out, the fight plays out. He beats the number 5 ranked guy in the world, and Joe Rogan says, is there still room on the White House card? We went back and talked to him. Hokett versus Derek Lewis was just added to the White House card in the last 10 minutes.
So there you go. So that's another fight. That's now 7 fights for the White House card. And oh my God, the White House card all of a sudden has become must-see TV, because Josh Hokett is a character. Derek Lewis doesn't give two you-know-whats about any of Hokett's antics. He's going in there to knock Hokett stiff. That's going to be a crazy, crazy fight. Crazy fight. So figured I would mention that. And speaking of the White House card as well, there were a couple of announcements around the White House card that were revealed last night around UFC Freedom 250. So let's take a look at some of these announcements right now. and how it's going to work for the fans. And I can even pull this. I might even do a share screen if I feel like it makes the most sense. So let's take a look at the particulars. 8 p.m. Eastern, Sunday, June 14th is the card. The website has not been updated to reflect the Derek Lewis fight. I'm sure they will put that up when they can. Let's see here. There was a registry. Okay, here we go. This is it right here. So there is a event schedule. So I'm going to tell you what the event schedule is. So on Friday, June 12th, from the Lincoln Memorial, they will do the UFC Freedom 250 press conference. It'll be at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's free and open to the public at the Lincoln Memorial. So that'll be an unbelievable scene, assuming the weather is good. Then the next day, on Saturday, June 13th, which is typically the night of the event, is going to be a Freedom 250 Fan Fest alongside the ceremonial weigh-ins. Okay, so the Freedom 250 Fan Fest is going to be a free ticketed event at the Ellipse, 3:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Eastern. Okay, and I'm going to explain to you guys how you get tickets in just a second, because it's a little bit complicated, and you're going to have to get lucky. It's kind of like a lottery system a little bit. All right, then the weigh-ins, the UFC Freedom 250 weigh-ins, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, also at the Ellipse, and that is also included in the Fan Fest. All right, so if you get this Fan Fest ticket, you get access to both. All right, so there's that for Saturday. Then Sunday, which is the day of the fight, you get the UFC Freedom 250 Fan Fest Day 2, 3:30 Eastern to midnight Eastern. So you can get it all day. You go to the Fan Fest all day, and within that same vicinity, you also get the UFC Freedom 250 watch party. So I'm going to explain to you guys how this all works, okay? So it's pretty simple. Unless you can go as a VIP to the actual event itself, you will not be able to go inside the fight. Okay, it'll be the first UFC event ever in the history of, I guess, the Zuffa/TKO era that you won't be able to physically go into a UFC event if you're not including COVID. Okay, so if you don't get invited by somebody within the organization, you cannot go physically into the event itself, or if you're not a member of the media, which I'm sure even media is going to be limited there as well. I'm not going to be there. There's no way I'm taking a shot at going to this. It's too much of a risk for me to go. I don't want anything bad to happen. But what you can do is there is a watch party. Okay, steps from the White House, as the description shows. Okay, and if you get these Fan Fest tickets, which I'll explain how you get them in just a minute, you will be able to watch these fights from the Ellipse. It's a watch party, 8 p.m. Eastern. That's when the card starts. You'll be able to sit there, pillows, blankets, kind of a picnic style thing, and watch the card, 7-fight card, as they're calling it, a shared live event experience. And as I just alluded to, included as part of the UFC Freedom 250 Fan Fest. Register for early ticket access. So this is how the registration process works. And in fact, I did this last night kind of as a social experiment. But there actually is a few FAQs, okay? What is the ticket request? UFC is giving fans the opportunity to request up to 2 free tickets for the upcoming UFC Freedom 250 Fan Fest at the Ellipse. Requests will be selected by random drawing, and registrants will be notified by email if their ticket request can be fulfilled. Are tickets transferable? No, tickets are non-transferable. To help prevent resale, the event organizers requested tickets to this event be mobile only and restricted from transfer. Only those who intend on attending the event themselves should submit a request to receive tickets. By submitting a request, I understand that the ticket is restricted from transfer and tickets cannot be resold. So technically, if I get them, I'm screwed out of luck. I'm gonna have to figure out how to go to the fight now. But I doubt though that I'm gonna get approved. All right, who is eligible to request ticket? Anyone with a Ticketmaster account. So if you have a Ticketmaster account, you're in good hands. Am I guaranteed tickets? The answer is no. Submitting a request Doesn't guarantee tickets. Ticket requests will be selected by random drawing, and again, as I alluded to, notified by email. Will there be a screening process? Yes, selected registrants may be selected to a screening process, including background checks. What if my request can't be fulfilled? You'll get an email confirming that your requested tickets cannot be fulfilled, which I am fully expecting to receive. Does my child need a ticket? So if you're bringing kids, yes, individuals of every age will need a ticket to enter the event. Why do I have to give my payment information up front? Tickets are free, but there's a temporary $1 security authorization to your card to verify your identity. What happens after I request tickets? You'll get a confirmation email summarizing your request. This does not guarantee you will receive tickets. Ticket requests will be selected by random drawing. What are your restricted items? Restricted items list will be provided closer. And then the most important question, and the question that I would care the most about, are there accessible ticket options? Accessible tickets are not required for general admission areas. Any ADACs will be accommodated upon arrival with general admission tickets, which means one thing and one thing only. If you're going to a UFC event and you happen to run into the right staffers, this is just primarily my experience, they always take care of you. So I think if anybody's planning to go in a wheelchair, the UFC will figure it out. They always figure it out. It may not be the greatest solution, but they always figure out the best course of action for all that stuff. So just figured I would mention that as well. Very, very important. So those are the FAQs. And let's see. You can request tickets for the general public if you don't do this pre-registration thing, which I would recommend doing. I guess if you don't do this, you won't get them. You have 9 days to until the tickets go on sale to the general public. So there you go. And I'm sure they're going to sell out fast and whatever. So there is all the info you need to know, but I haven't even given you guys the link. It is UFC.com/freedom250. So you guys got that? That's how easy it is. So there you go. All right, looking back over at the rest of UFC 327, Dominic Reyes wins a split decision over Johnny Walker. Cub Swanson goes out on top in his retirement fight, knocking out Nate Landwehr. Aaron Pico wins the Battle of Bellator veterans over Patricio Pitbull. Good for him, first win in the UFC. Kevin Holland beats Randy Brown. Mateus Gamrot submits Esteban Ribovics. Tatiana Suarez submits Lupi Godinez in a fight where she remains in contention at 115. Good for her. She's now 12-1 in MMA. Godinez is now 14-6. There was a majority draw in the Markel Medeiros-Chris Padilla fight, which I guess was wild according to Twitter. I didn't watch it. Vicente Luque submits Kelvin Gastelum. And then, of course, to open the show, Charles Radtke wins a unanimous decision over Francisco Prado. Radtke is now 12-5. Prado is the inverse. Or, excuse me, no, he's identical and also 12-5 as well. So that'll do it for UFC 327. We went 4-7-1 on the card, which puts my record at 81-58-2, if I'm not mistaken, with that as well. So not the greatest showing for your boy over here. So Keaton Wagler declaring for the NBA draft. This was breaking news on Saturday evening. Huge news. A bunch of sources reported it. Sports Illustrated, Draft Express, a couple of sources. Let's talk about Keaton Wagler declaring for the draft. Let's also read his statement that he put out on Instagram, and I will give my quick 2 cents on how I feel about Wagler officially declaring for the NBA draft. Let's see here. That's pretty cool. That's private. I'm not going to say what that is. Let's see. Okay. I am going to pull this up here. So Keaton Wagler put out a statement on Saturday night revealing his plans to declare for the NBA draft. It doesn't look like he's maintaining his eligibility, but let's take a look. It says, "Dear Illini Nation, this past year has been the journey of a lifetime. I never could have imagined what this season had in store For us, our Final Four run is something I will cherish for the rest of my life. Well, he was a major part of this. What a freaking legend this guy is. The Illini fans are the best in the world. I'll never forget the feeling of hearing State Farm Center go crazy for the kid from Shawnee, Kansas. Thank you to Coach Underwood and the entire Illinois staff for believing in me when others did not. And he's not joking about that. He's one of the few coaches in the country that legitimately believed in his success. Since I was a kid, I've dreamt of playing basketball on the biggest stage. After speaking with my family and reflecting on this amazing journey, I've decided it's time to turn my dream into reality. I will be declaring for the 2026 NBA draft. Champaign, Illinois will always hold a special place in my heart. ILL with the orange and blue heart emoji. Signed, number 23 himself, Keaton Walker. So, first off, congrats to the legend. I can say I was there at the 46-point game against Purdue. That's when he put his name on the map in West Lafayette on that cold January afternoon. One of the best individual performances I've ever seen live and in person. Tremendous player overall. Super, super freaking excited for him. I selfishly wanted him to come back. I thought there were a few things he could work on, but goddamn, he's a top 10 pick. Hopefully he goes to the right team. If he goes to the Bulls, oh my God. Because if you think about it, the Bulls are so terrible right now, and they want to clean house so badly that at this point, they might as well just shoot for the freaking moon. Keaton Wagler would instantly put butts in seats, regardless of how bad the Bulls are. So shoot, and even if he spends time in the G League, he'll be fine. If it's not even this year, it'll be 2 years that he'll be great. He'll be unreal. So I'm excited for him. If he works on his intangibles a little bit, he will do just fine. Shout out to Keaton. Super freaking happy for him. I'll be talking about this more after he officially gets drafted in the summer. But hopefully it's a good run for him, and hopefully he does some big things. All right, let's talk about Cade Horton and the Cubs. We don't really talk about baseball, but this Cade Horton injury is kind of huge. All right, so let's see here. So Jed Hoyer came out about a week ago and talked about the injury to Cade Horton. So he injured his elbow. So let's take a look at what Jed Hoyer had to say about Cade Horton. All right, here we go. This is according to Tony Andrecki of Bleacher Nation, one of the best in the business. Here's the quote as of this past Friday. When I look back, I don't have any thoughts or regrets about how we handled him because we were so conservative, Jed Hoyer said Friday morning at Wrigley Field. Obviously, he broke down. I just think that this is the nature of pitching in 2026. It's a hard part. You have to build up a lot of depth. We just have to have a next guy up mentality. Horton will have surgery to repair the ulnar collateral ligament UCL in his right elbow and will miss the rest of the season. The exact date of the surgery was not revealed, but he will see Dr. Keith Meister, who is well known for treating elbow injuries. Horton has already had Tommy John surgery, but it's not yet known if he will be undergoing a second TJ procedure. He will get at least an internal brace, and they will examine the extent of the injury during surgery to determine if he needs a full repair or not. Obviously, terrible news for Horton. He was a big centerpiece for the Cubs going into the season. A lot of people were really excited to see him do his thing, and unfortunately, that is going to have to wait another year. All right, final couple of topics here. Angel Reese traded to the Atlanta Dream, and I think a lot of Chicago fans can celebrate because there's half of the city that didn't like her. There was half of the city who loved her. I didn't love her, but God damn it, now we can really focus on, I think the culture piece is important. Okay, I understand Angel Reese was the biggest star in the organization, but sometimes just being a big star doesn't always mean that you're the right fit. And I just don't know if Angel Reese was the right fit. It seems like Atlanta was her spot because in her post announcing that she was going to the Dream, it's a big ATL Dream. So it was almost like she always wanted to go there anyway, or unless she was using it as a play on words, I don't know. But this is big news. Does it set the sky back a little bit? Absolutely. But nonetheless, though, it should be interesting to see when Angel Reese returns to Chicago what the reception is like this season. All right. Big Ten spring games. They've kind of already gotten underway, but a few of note to keep an eye on. Nebraska is having a spring game, I'm pretty sure. Washington is having one, I'm sure. Michigan is having one. Ohio State is having one. The Ohio State is next Saturday. There's a couple of schools that aren't. Illinois is not having one. I know that. Northwestern, I haven't heard anything that they're having one. And if they are, it's probably a private scrimmage open to the media. But nonetheless, though, some of these schools are having them and other schools are not. So just keep it tuned in to Big Ten Network. That's where you'll find, I think, every single spring game that's being played, either on delay or live. So it kind of depends. I think Purdue is having one as well, if I'm not mistaken. So keep it locked in to those and see what you can find for those Big Ten spring games, depending on if your team is having one. But my team that I follow is not. So don't have to worry about that as well. Masters final round thoughts. All right, let's take a look at what the Masters looks like going into the final round here. Okay, so Young is 11 under. Cameron Young is 11 under. Rory McIlroy is right behind him, also 11 under. Sam Burns is right behind Rory McIlroy at 10 under. Lowry is 9 under. Jason Day is 8 under. So still very much in play to see how the final round of the Masters goes, especially on that final 18th hole. That'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. But nonetheless, excited for the end of the Masters at Augusta National. It's one of the best traditions in sports. Once the Masters is over, people kind of turn their attention to the NFL draft and that whole debacle. So we'll see how all this plays out, but that's kind of my brief thoughts on the Masters, and hopefully Rory McIlroy can win another green jacket. That'd be kind of cool. All right, that's going to do it though for another edition of Bando, or excuse me, I said Bando's pregnant. Zain Zinger Part 2. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Follow the actual show on social media at Bando's Breakdown. Check me out on YouTube and the show on YouTube, youtube.com/ETV Network. You can follow me across my personal socials at Zain Bando 99. And of course, you can listen to Bando's Breakdowns wherever your podcast. We will see you guys next week for episode 86 of Bando's Breakdowns. As I alluded to, back to a pre-recorded format once again. And until next Sunday, thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy the day in sports for those of you who are choosing to pay attention to any of that as well. And of course, let's see. And of course, without further ado, what was I going to get to? Without further ado, thank you so much for tuning in. Greatly appreciated. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Have a good one. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. And enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers, everyone. Thanks.